McCaffrey. I think that he's gonna come ball out, and I think he's got a lot to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder ever since he went into his contract, his 4-year, $64 million contract. He has not played a full season, so he's got something to prove to himself. He's got something to prove to the NFL around the league. And as far as the defense goes, I mean, the outside of J.C. Horn, maybe they're not that good. I don't have high expectations for the Panthers defense. Fortunately, they play in a division with the Falcons, so that's kind of they're already starting out 2-0, baby. But I think they are at least a little bit above the Falcons. I got them at 7-10. Wouldn't shock me if they went 8-9 though, but third in the division.
All right, I've got them at 8-9. And part of the reason I have made it at 8-9 is because you already pointed out they start out 2-0, and they play the third place schedule in the division as well. Mayfield gets the nod. Obviously, he is an upgrade over Sam Darnold, as we already spoke about. Baker Mayfield, that is. You got on the offensive side of the ball, again, as Ryan and Timmy both pointed out, they're relatively talented. I think they finished 18th in offensive line production. I don't know how they grade that. I know the Eagles were just listed number 1, which is baller. But I think the Panthers were at 18, which puts them kind of in the middle of the pack, which is good.
I saw them at 24.
24. I got the NFL.com thing pulled up right now. It says 18.
Okay, my fault.
But I mean, you could be reading ESPN and I'm reading NFL. Like that's how close those other teams are. Like there's 2 tiers to offensive line. It's like 10 and up, and then everything below them is like all similar. So the offensive line isn't terrible. Baker Mayfield gets to go there where Robbie Anderson has potential. Boom or bust situation. Yeah, DJ Moore is a phenomenal wide receiver. Will not finish wide receiver 1. Good job, Timmy. And
I mean, I like Terrace Marshall there too. I like his skill set. I like the skill set he can bring on the outside. I mean, DJ Moore will take a lot of his snaps in the slot, but
yeah. And as Timmy already pointed out, Christian McCaffrey, CMC is his nickname. Christian McCaffrey. If they stay healthy, and as Ryan pointed out, he plays 15, 16 games this year. He is a huge X factor on that team. When he's on the field, their winning percentage, I think, is like 725 versus when he's off the field and it's like 225. It's like that big of a difference when Christian McCaffrey is on the field, whether he's getting the football or not. He requires a safety. He requires an extra linebacker. He requires extra coverage, which opens somebody up. And Baker Mayfield can throw the ball. He's, as we pointed out several times in the last couple of weeks, he's got that Brett Favre mentality. I'm going to throw the football. They might get big. I'm going to throw it.
Not even that. Baker uses running backs.
What's that?
Baker uses running backs out of the backfield in Cleveland a lot last couple of years.
And Christian McCaffrey is probably the best running back in football out of the backfield.
No doubt.
So for me, they're 8-9, and I would not be surprised if they have a winning record at 9-8, even in the slightest. I saw that, Timmy. They are third in the division for me at 8-9.
I think we are going to disagree on the records. That's a little surprising.
Yes. So,
who dey?
Yeah, you knew we were going there next. We had already predicted that.
Yeah.
Let's go with the Saints. Timmy. Who dat?
I got Winston and Michael Thomas coming back healthy this year.
Mm-hmm.
I have them second in the division at 10-7. The defense is still good in my opinion. Not safety, the corners. You got Lattimore, I think his name is.
Yeah, Marshawn Lattimore. Yeah. They lose Malcolm Jenkins.
They did lose Malcolm Jenkins. He retired. Did he retire at the Eagle?
He retired. No, he just retired.
Okay, so he didn't care. Kamara might get suspended this year at the end of the season. You don't think so?
No, it'll be at the beginning of next year.
Go ahead, give your take.
I could look at it like what happened to Zeke in 2016. He got suspended mid-season for something. I don't remember what he did. So, I do have them making the playoffs, though.
I don't.
Do you?
I do. The last wild card spot.
Okay.
I don't think it's unfathomable. I can see it. What do you have them at the record? 10-7?
10-7. Yeah. All right, Ryan.
I got them at 9-8. 10-7 again. I mean, if it's plus or minus one game, it doesn't shock me in the slightest. But they have a ton of offensive weapons. I mean, Chris Olave, they gave up the arm, the leg this year, their other arm and their other leg next year. They gave up, I think, what ended up being 6 draft picks, a first, like 2 firsts, 2 seconds, the third. It was a massive, draft capital to end up moving up and draft Chris Olave. So they're obviously going to heavily involve him in the offense, and he has the skill set that Jameis Winston loves. He's a good deep route runner, and Jameis Winston loves to let it fly. Talk about, boomer bust, Brett Favre mentality kind of guys. That's been Jameis Winston his whole career. Outside of, the first half of last year, which brings me into Jameis Winston. He was very effective in the games he played. 14 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions.
Yes.
Now, that was with Sean Payton as the head coach. Sean Payton is no longer there. So it is Dennis Allen's turn, the former defensive coordinator, to step up and be the head coach. I obviously believe that the defense will be good once again because they did not lose their coaching. They didn't really lose too many key players. Like you said, Timmy, Marshawn Lattimore's still there. Cam Jordan's still there, playing at a high level, well into his 30s. They have pieces on the defense. The big thing is, are they going to? It's really all on how the offense operates. I'm not even going to say it's on Jameis Winston. I think we've seen flashes of Jameis Winston to know that he has enough talent. Are they going to implement the right schemes? Is Michael Thomas going to come back healthy? Is Jameis going to come back healthy? Is Jameis going to be able to utilize Alvin Kamara as a check down? Because where this division is not that good talent-wise, if you look at it, 3 out of these 4 teams, they have very good receiving running backs in the Panthers, the Saints, and the Buccaneers, which we will touch on. You said CMC is probably the best weapon out of the backfield in terms of pass catching. I would agree with that. However, right up his butt is Alvin Kamara, who might.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost 1A, 1B type deal. Kamara's been a great pass catcher. So Jameis Winston, who's used to throwing the ball downfield with regularity, is he going to be able to utilize Kamara in that check down role? We will see as time goes on. But for me, so it's more about like them switching cultures as an offensive-minded team, with Sean Payton at the helm, to a defensive-minded team that will need some offensive help. So I think that changing in coaching with Chris Olave coming on, Michael Thomas coming back after 2 years, Jameis Winston, the return, the gelling, I think it'll take some time. So I got 9-8, second in the division.
Okay. I've got Saints at 10-7. You already touched on Jameis Winston, so I'm not going to go into him too much. However, as you pointed out, was one of the big things I put on here. He played 8 games last year, was 14-3 in the touchdown to interception ratio situation. That's 28-6 for the season. That's essentially what Carson Wentz did in Indianapolis. And had that production continued with the Saints last year with Sean Payton as the coach, the Saints likely make the playoffs over the Eagles. Not likely. They do make the playoffs over the Eagles. And I expect a 10-7 season out of the New Orleans Saints. Kamara, as we already pointed out, very good pass catching running back. Also, he's really good at running through the tackles. I know they give him, or they have in recent years given him a lot of like off tackle dives and trying to get him on the outside and try and create space. However, let's not forget that he's good at putting his shoulder down and running through the offensive line and then creating his own space afterwards.
I think they're good at making him like do that when it's necessary. I think they've saved him enough over the years. They have Mark Ingram back again. I think that, him not being the primary between the tackles guy, but doing it when it's needed. I think he can get it done. I agree with that.
Yeah. Michael Thomas in preseason and the last 2 games, I haven't seen him play yet. But over all the video that I've seen in preseason, Michael Thomas looks really good. He looks like he is healthy. He looks like he does want to play. And Jarvis Landry seems to be fitting in with Jameis Winston really, really well. These are things that bode really well for the offense. As Ryan pointed out, though, they have a defensive-minded coach now, so I think they're going to. The reason they brought Mark Ingram back is because they're going to try and run the ball more. Jameis Winston isn't going to have to rely on his arm as much, and as such, I think that actually bodes well for the defense, which, as we pointed out, is still good, but doesn't need to be on the field as much if Jameis Winston isn't turning the ball over. So the defense gets the opportunity to really shine and keep their energy and do really good at what they do. As you pointed out, Cam Jordan still playing really well at 33 years old. 10-7, and I've got them right out of the postseason sweep.
Makes sense. Yeah, I have them just missing the postseason, but I think that like Timmy alluded to, there's definitely potential for them to make the last wild card.
There absolutely is.
Totally, it's not totally unreasonable that could happen.
And I'm with you there. Let's go on to the last of our show.
Last but not least, I think the best of the 8 teams that we talked about today.
The I would agree that this is the best of the 8 teams that we talked about today. Timmy, fire away.
So we got the Buccaneers. Tom Brady coming out of retirement to come back to play with them another year. They hired the head coach right into the front office because Tom Brady came back this year. That's what I heard anyway. I don't know if it's true or not, so who knows. But they did hire the defensive coordinator,
Todd Bowles.
Tom Bowles, which I think it's not going to make it that big of a difference for Tampa Bay because he already knows the offense. He already knows the defense. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference for how the way they want to play.
They retained the offensive coordinator. He was calling all the plays and designing all the offensive schemes anyway, and Byron Leftwich.
Even better. So nothing's going to change, in my opinion, on that part of on that. They got Leonard Fournette coming back. Big Lenny. Whoever believed those stories that he weighed 260. I don't know.
285. 285 when he showed up at camp.
You mean tight end Leonard Fournette?
Whoever believed those stories, you guys have to wait until preseason or beginning of the NFL. I think he's going to be a dominant back this year, in my opinion. They I forgot his backup's name. I don't have it written down. What's it?
Ronald Jones.
Not Ronald Jones.
Ronald Jones is not.
I thought you were talking about the one from last year. I'm sorry.
No. This year.
You're talking about the rookie they drafted, Rashad White.
Yeah. I think he's going to be decent in a passing game.
He's looked pretty good in the preseason.
I think he's going to take some of the passing game over from Leonard Fournette, but I don't think Leonard Fournette's going to lose all of it. The offensive line for the Buccaneers is top 4 from what I saw.
Yeah.
They have a good offensive line, and they lost the top center, didn't they?
I was about to say, I think it was top 4 before they lost Ryan Jensen. That's a massive loss. That's like the Eagles losing Jason Kelce.
Which is going to happen next year. But we'll get into that next week.
I have them finishing 12-5 first in the division.
Yeah, I actually have them going 13-4. I think, given the combination, I mean, when I look at them just playing inside the division, I see 5-1 easy. And that to me, that's I know the Saints beat them twice last year, but to me, that was a little bit fluky. I think the Buccaneers can go ahead and at least take one this year. Last year's last year, like Ken said, doesn't mean anything. Tom Brady's coming back. That's all needs to be wrote. Chris Godwin's coming back off his ACL tear. Sounds like he's going to play week 1. Leonard Fournette, as you already alluded to, Timmy, obviously had the, he was 265 or whatever it was, back when OTAs were a thing. People bloat all the time in the offseason, it was just made, more apparent because he's a running back. I'm not too concerned about it, in all honesty. I think Leonard Fournette's obviously going to reproduce what he did last year. His main piece is catching passes out of the backfield. And Tom Brady loves to throw to his running backs. I do not think Rashad White is going to be as involved as a lot of other people think so. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn 2 years ago, 15 spots ahead of where they took Rashad White, and Keyshawn Vaughn's seen like 39 touches in the NFL. I don't think that there's any guarantee that Tom Brady gets his rookies involved. I think especially this, assuming that he's going to be his last year, that he's just going to want to go all out and he's going to trust his veterans a little bit more, especially with Ryan Jensen being out. So I think that, Fournette's going to get a lot of the work there. And then obviously Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, you could sit here and argue that they're probably the number 1 receiving duo in the NFL. The Bengals, I'm sure, Bengals fans would love to have a talk with me about that. But that being said, the defense not changing at all. Todd Bowles is there still as the head coach. Byron Leftwich stays in place as the offensive coordinator, so the offense doesn't change at all. Bruce Arians moving to the front office. Apparently there was a rift between him and Brady. Brady essentially kind of retired because Arians was the head coach, so Arians took a front office position. There was a bunch of drama and nonsense with it. But, yeah, I got 13-4, first in the division. I mean, they play the Packers. They play the Cowboys. They should beat the Cowboys again. So that's, just in those games, it's 6-2, maybe 7-1.
Don't forget they signed Russell Gage and Julio Jones.
I didn't even touch on the Julio Jones thing. To me, neither one of them make any sort of difference. I don't think Russell Gage is going to. I think in real life he'll have like a decent impact in terms of just opening up the field. I think they ultimately signed him because they weren't sure how ready Chris Godwin was going to be for week 1. But to me, Julio Jones means absolutely nothing.
No, Julio Jones is going to be on the field every fourth or fifth play just to give somebody some fresh legs. And I firmly believe that. I've got the Buccaneers going 13-4 also.